Welcome to the SCTC Customer Spotlight. Today we're visiting with Lenowisco Director Duane Miller. Hello, Mr. Miller.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, thank you. Are you?
Doing great, doing great. Well, I guess just to go ahead and get started, first we'll start off with this kind of a history of what is Lenowisco. A lot of people ask me, we've heard of Lenowisco, but what exactly is it? First and foremost, Lenowisco stands for Lee, Norton, Wise, and Scott counties. We're one of 21 planning districts throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, and by the Code of Virginia, we're tasked with infrastructure development, economic development, and really just providing assistance to our member localities, which again are Lee County, Wise County, Scott County, and the city of Norton. We also do quite a bit of work for the 15 incorporated towns that fall within the footprint of our district. So something that we're pretty busy with here, doing a lot of different work. We have right now, I believe we have 5 full-time staff members, including myself, and 5 part-time employees. So I have a real heavy workload dealing with all kinds of different projects, infrastructure, economic development, broadband, as well as the management of a lot of those projects.
Okay, could you describe a little of the history of Lenowisco?
Sure. Lenowisco started in 1969, and when Lenowisco was first founded, again, there was 21 planning districts created through code by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and over 60 years, I guess, now that we've been doing this. At the onset, we focused a lot on water projects, providing water to the residents of the Lenowisco district. As time's gone on, we have been able to fulfill a lot of that. We have 70%, if not higher, coverage in all of our counties that are members of Lenowisco. So about 10-15 years ago, we switched focus to wastewater. Still doing water projects, but also putting focus on wastewater. Then over the last 5 years, because wastewater, we've been fortunate enough to really get a lot of coverage throughout our planning district with wastewater, we've put a focus on broadband. Like we like to say, as long as you're putting something in the ground, whether it's water pipe, sewer pipe, or broadband pipe, it's really very similar to do that, because you're still just providing something that is going to provide something for the residents of our district. So those have been our focuses throughout the entire period. We've helped with a lot of VDOT projects, working originally on 23 and 58, a lot of the development of 2358, as well as doing a lot of other primary road projects in partnership with VDOT and in support of our member localities. We also spend quite a bit of time over the last 60 years focusing on economic development work. The majority of the large employers that you find located within our footprint, we've either served as the lead primary role on the recruitment of that, or have been a support secondary member with our localities with the economic development recruitment of really, I think, just about every large industry that has come to our area within the last 60 years.
Do you work with just industries, or can businesses come to you?
In terms of economic development, we usually work with just larger economic development projects in terms of large employers, or in terms of building facilities, whether it's industrial parks for large industry. That's really where we focus on, and really like to try to point people in the direction of some of our small business development groups, small business administration groups that we have throughout our region. We've got a lot of great agencies here to kind of help with small business development. So that's not something that we really do a whole lot of. But if anyone has any questions or needs any help, and this is something that we pride ourselves on, always call us. If we're not the ones that help you, we certainly will try our best to direct you in the direction of where you can find that help.
What do you see as the direction of Lenowisco in the future?
Future right now, some of the things, as I mentioned to you previously, water and sewer, and we've kind of, at least on the waterfront, again, still working on water projects, especially in some of our more rural areas throughout our district, but they're a lot smaller water projects than they used to be. It used to be we would serve larger communities. Now we've got those done. Then it was wastewater, and we're kind of in the same situation there. Not as far as we are with water, still doing a lot of wastewater projects, but more of a smaller scale. For the most part, we're working on a real large wastewater project in western Lee County to help, because if you have water and you have sewer, that's really also how you can create development, whether housing or economic development. So we have a very large project, about a $20 million project we are working on and managing for the development of wastewater to serve the entire corridor of western Lee County in partnership with the LMU veterinarian school that's out there, and really hoping with that project and getting wastewater out there to then have some housing growth and to have some economic growth, because the veterinarian school that's out there is bringing people to the area. So these people are having to live in Tazewell, Tennessee, Middlesboro, Kentucky, not because they want to, but because they essentially have to. So hopefully when this project's complete, we'll be able to do some housing development, some small scale, hopefully commercial development. And when I say that, small stores or maybe even some small businesses such as restaurants, because those students and faculty are coming to Lee County. So what can we do to try to help Lee County capture as much of that as they can? Some of the other stuff we're working on in the future, we've really started over the last few years doing housing rehab projects throughout our district. One of the projects that we're just now getting started on is a coal camp housing project. And if you look through our region, we have several coal camp areas that abandoned is not the correct word probably, but they have a lot of vacancies. And there's a lot of houses that, whether through generational turnover, the homes may still be owned by somebody, but nobody's living in them. And some of the houses, just because of time, have worn out or need a lot of work. So we've been working with some of our partners in Richmond to secure funding to come in and do housing rehab on those type of houses, with the hope, again, from a housing standpoint, that we can have people come into the area and have housing that may be attractive to them. We've been working quite a bit lately, and this is something kind of new, with actual private housing developers that have come to the area. And really, I think the reason we're seeing them in our area now is because of some of the larger scale economic development announcements that we've had just over the last couple of years. We've partnered with Invest Southwest Virginia, and Scott County Telephone. We've all kind of worked together. Scott County Telephone's taken a real interest in helping with economic development projects, and not only just helping, they're putting money where their mouths are too. And they've actually helped us with a few different studies for economic development, which again, it's been a wonderful partnership with Scott County Telephone on those type of things. But partnering with them and Invest Southwest, we've been able to secure the Earthlink announcement at Project Intersection, which is a 200-acre project, industrial park project that we've been working on smack dab in the middle of city of Norton and Wise County. If you ride up that way, you'll see the construction right now going on. It's where there used to be the high wall, and the high wall's been removed now, but that's going to be a 200-acre industrial park that we're working on. Construction's going on right now. And the first tenant of the park is Earthlink, which Earthlink, some people remember Earthlink from the late 90s. You used to get the CDs in the mail with an AOL, and you would get those CDs. Earthlink has kind of had a rebirth and a rebranding, and now they're a large internet service provider. But what we like for them to do is they're going to put a call center. They actually are in a temporary facility in Wise County right now, and going to employ, I believe, 250 people at the new building that's being built at Project Intersection. but we have to have housing to bring people in for that. So again, going back to some of the stuff I was talking about with housing, it all dovetails together. You know, economic development, infrastructure development, housing. You have to have everything kind of in a balance to be successful with it. Some of the other stuff in terms of directions, I mentioned the housing, economic development, partnerships. It's the other thing, as I mentioned, with private developers, something we've never really had before, but with these private developers that are coming to our area because they're seeing these job announcements, and where there's job announcements and new employment, there's hopefully going to be a need for new housing stock. So we've had several meetings here at our office and with all of our localities with private developers with an interest in looking into creating mixed-use housing, middle-income housing developments in Lee, Wise, Scott, and City of Norton. So that's something that I think we're really kind of moving towards is trying to help with the need for housing. Broadband, that's something else that we've really been working on for the last 5 years. Especially with our partnership with Scott County Telephone. When COVID came, we did small projects with the help of Scott County Telephone and the Virginia Coalfield Coalition. Lenowisco, we did 15, for all 15 of our localities, we did free mobile hotspot areas during COVID to help people in our localities have access to the internet. And we put these in the downtown districts of all 15 of our localities. And Scott County Telephone is our partner, helped to where we were able to do that and still have that available in all of our localities now in the downtown districts at no cost and providing that free Wi-Fi. But what we noticed as we went through that process, and because of a lot of the funds that became available during COVID, we've been able to take what was probably our 10-year master plan to make sure we have broadband service to all the households in the Lenowisco footprint. And we've been able to expedite that to really a 5-year footprint. And right now, we've secured over $50 million of funding, state funding through the VADI program to really help us get full coverage in Lee County and Wise County in partnership, again, with Scott County Telephone. We've also done a lot of work in Scott County, but Scott County kind of found itself a little bit ahead of our other counties because of the work that Scott County Telephone had previously done in Scott County.
You are mentioning a lot of the programs that you've done, some businesses who have come into the area, some industry that has come into the area, but yet we're experiencing a population decline. Are you projecting population growth?
Well, I think if you look at it, and I always try to let everyone know this because the media, tends to want to point out our population decline in our area. But keep in mind, and I always try to point this out to people, if you take the time and you look at any rural area in the United States, not just here in the Lenowisco district, any rural area in the United States, you're going to see a population decline if you look at the census figures. If you look in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, West Virginia, a lot of other areas in our vicinity of the country, you'll actually see the percentage of population decline is a lot higher than what we have in the Lenowisco Planning District. So I always try to point that out to let everyone know that we are seeing declines in rural America, not just in our area. But one of the things that we're really excited about is we have really noticed over the last 2 or 3 years something that we've never really had a lot of, which is in migration. People coming to our area and moving here. I think you can ask any of our counties, they'll tell you they've had probably record-setting numbers in terms of people moving to their areas and even some new housing construction that's taking place. So that's been real exciting to have that in migration, which again is something we've never had. We've also spent a lot of time on trying to keep, quote unquote, our best and brightest here. And I always try to tell everybody, I think it's just human nature for young people. A lot of them, where they grow up, they'll go get educated, and they may want to spread their wings and go somewhere else. And I think that's just human nature, something you see a lot. Kids want to go see something different. And we've always noticed what happens a lot of times, people in the past have grown up here, been educated here, whether through UVA Wise or Mountain Empire, but then a lot of them will go somewhere else to work. Then they'll retire, and guess what? A lot of them will come back here to retire and everything. So we know must have a good quality of life. So we need to have the jobs in place, to get people to come back. So we have spent a lot of time and focus on what can we do to get people back, but also, as I mentioned, getting people to move to our area who aren't from here, which is something new in migration. One of the things that we really think has helped us with that, one has been quality of life. Two has been just public safety in a rural area. And three, one of the things that's really helped us is having such a robust broadband network in our area, which we have a really good broadband network. And we've really seen, in terms of economic development recruitment, some of the companies we've been going after, for instance, eHealth, Paymerang, a lot of these companies that we've been recruiting, though they have a hub presence, the majority of their employment is work from home. And what we've picked up on is a lot of people moving to this area for some of these work from home jobs, because they can come to this area. It's a low cost of living, yet a high quality of life and things to do. We've noticed too, I've become old, I guess now, but a lot of younger generation people who, may have had a focus on, say, a Asheville or, some of your outdoor type communities. We have a lot of that same stuff here, but again, at a lower cost of living, but with the same quality of things to do as a lot of those areas may have. Then you throw on top of that work from home jobs, and again, with the low cost of living we have here, a lot of people, I think, are starting to say, why don't we live there? We can go a lot further on a dollar than we could if we were in an urban area. And it's a great place to raise kids. It's a great place to do things. It's just a great place to live. And that's kind of been one of the things I know in terms of marketing the region for economic development projects that we've really started to put a focus on is in migration. What can we do to get people here? Because you're going to lose some of your best and brightest. They're going to go somewhere. So what can we do to maybe get some of the best and brightest from some of these other areas?
You mentioned marketing the area. How do you go about that?
We really have, in partnerships through Invest Southwest Virginia, which is an economic development initiative that's kind of been led by our legislators and funded by the Virginia Tobacco Commission, the Appalachia Regional Commission, amongst others. We've worked hand in hand with Invest Southwest Virginia on doing recruitment for industry, but we really also find ourselves in a support role on that for our counties. Each of our counties have wonderful economic development professionals, economic development directors, and we really just do what we can to try to help and assist them. We have other regional groups such as VCETA and the state, through VEDP, the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, that really have been wonderful in helping us be creative in some of the marketing. And again, still focused on manufacturing industry, but also looking at what other things are out there, whether again it's work from home. We've looked at things such as data centers. Now, data centers may not be a high employment generator, but they are a high tax generator. And so you look at that to offset things. You certainly don't want to always create jobs, but if you can also create revenue to come into the localities, our localities through their leadership do a great job with increased revenue, creating other opportunities.
Going back to the broadband issue, Powell Valley Electric Cooperative and Scott County Telephone Cooperative have joined together in a partnership, and I believe you're involved in that.
They have been wonderful, Powell Valley Electric and Scott County Telephone. I like to tell people we're not only a customer of Scott County Telephone, we're a partner with Scott County Telephone. Through the leadership Scott County Telephone has, and this isn't something that's just started, this partnership's been going on for 10 years that we've had with Scott County Telephone, with us helping to secure funding from state and federal grant agencies, and then partnering with Scott County Telephone in the deployment of infrastructure, broadband infrastructure throughout Lee, Wise, Scotton County. Right now, over the last 2 years, again, we've secured over $50 million in funding to help with expansion of broadband throughout our whole district. The partnership that Scott County has with Powell Valley Electric has been very advantageous because it's created the ability to secure these funds, and then Scott County, through their partnership with Powell Valley Electric, already has a lot of the stuff in place, whether it's pole attachments, easements, ability to hook into residential homes, because they already have that relationship with Powell Valley Electric. So it's really been a seamless transition. We can secure the grant funds, and then our friends at Scott County, working with Powell Valley Electric, are able to go in and construct the infrastructure to hopefully get broadband to, if not all, certainly a very high majority of the residents in our footprint.
It seems to be a successful program. Need to ask just a little bit about Duane Miller. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Actually, I was born in Richmond, Virginia. Grew up part of my life in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Then the other part of my life in Atlanta, Georgia. And then when I played tennis in high school, and I came to a little small school called Clinch Valley College to come play tennis a long time ago. When I first came to Clinch Valley, I thought, what in the world have I done? Where am I at? Because again, I'd always grown up in urban settings, and really thought, what have I done? But after about a year at Clinch Valley College, I fell in love first with Clinch Valley College, but then with the region. And because of people, Ron Flannery and some of the other directors that we had here, people just gave me a chance. And again, I just fell in love with the area. And now I've been here over 30 years. I've lived in the area now, and I call it home. It's been a great place to raise kids. And again, kind of like I mentioned with Scott County Telephone earlier, putting your money where your mouth is. Every day when I come here, it's not really a job. It's something I love to do because I love the area. I fell in love with it, like I said, 30 years ago. And I hope maybe we can replicate something like with what happened with me when I talk about in-migration, somebody coming from outside the area and falling in love with the area. I've yet to meet anybody who comes here and stays. I always tell people, some people will come stay a day or two, but I really think if someone comes and stays, I've yet to meet anyone who comes and stays a couple weeks who doesn't fall in love with it. So I always joke and tell people, Southwest Virginia, give it a chance, and then you'll love it. And I really think, at least from my standpoint, that's true, and I think for many others.
You still play tennis?
I have not played tennis in years. I've gone to golf and everything. I've played golf for quite a few years. But my son now, who is 17, he's been playing golf, and now he beats me really bad. So I don't play as much golf now because I was getting tired of getting beat. But I guess I'll have to find maybe pickleball. I'll try that sometime.
I don't know how to play pickleball.
Yeah, I don't either. They say it's like tennis, but I've never played it. So.
Do you have any other bullet point items?
One other topic in terms of talking about innovative new ideas and things that we're doing, in the future and different. Under the Lenowisco umbrella, we were fortunate enough to start the Lonesome Pine RIFA, which stands for Regional Industrial Facilities Authority. And what's been really great about that is the makeup of that group is Lee County, Wise County, Scott County, City of Norton, and Dickinson County also is part of our RIFA. Now, what is a RIFA? It's something created by the Code of Virginia, but what it allows you to do is partner with other localities on economic development projects. So I've always said we're stronger as a whole than we are as pieces on all kinds of projects. But the RIFA really allows that to occur through revenue sharing. So you may have a project, and Project Intersection's a perfect example in Wise County, City of Norton. That project's located there, but it has a revenue sharing mechanism in place that when industry comes, and any tax base that's generated from that is split proportionately, and each project has its own formula to decide what that proportionality is on who gets what from it. But each locality that's a member in each project the RIFA does is able to generate revenue. So the neat thing about that is you may have a project that's located in Wise or Norton, but Dickinson County, Scott County, Lee County all will benefit from that tax base. Now, some people say, well, why would you do that? Well, the majority of the projects we do in our area we've yet to do a project in our area in terms of an economic development project. If it's in Scott County, I can assure you, you'll have employees from Wise County, Lee County, City of Norton that will all utilize that and go there for employment. So really, again, that's the whole heart and nexus of what Lenowisco is. What can we do to work as a region? Stronger as a whole than we are as parts. And the RIFA is a perfect mechanism that's been created now to allow us to do that from an economic development standpoint.
Do you have anything you'd like to add before we close?
If you're good, I'm good. RIFA broadband. Again, I just can't thank Scott County Telephone enough for the partnership. Again, we're not just a customer, we are partners with them, and again, doing several projects, not only through broadband and the typical stuff that Scott County Telephone is known for, but also they've been a valuable partner in regards to economic development and even some of the marketing. When we have industry come to our area and they ask questions about broadband, Scott County Telephone has always been wonderful to provide the expertise to assist us with that.
Okay, Duane Miller, Executive Director of Lenowisco. Thanks for joining us today, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.